All right. Welcome to the relationship series, season 3, and we are ready to go. Excellent. We are in season 3, episode 5, I believe, y'all. And we are here on the relationship series where we have transformational conversations about how to revolutionize our relationships. Here we do the work, we heal for real, and we sow what we want to grow. I'm your host, Genevieve. Y'all know me. I am a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a therapist, a world traveler, all the things. And I love relationships. I love talking about relationships. I am not an expert. I like to tell you guys that every single time I struggle in relationships, just like the rest of us. But I do believe that everything that or all the time that we spend talking about relationships is time well spent. And so we get to do that here on the relationship series, and we talk about great topics that are relevant to our relationships and that impact our relationships. And we talk about them in a way that help us to benefit our relationships. So creating and building and fostering quality relationships. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'd like to know who you guys are. You can drop it in the chat, drop a note for us to let us know that you are here and who you are. Well, again, we are in season 3, and we have a fantastic episode. I understand, and I've gotten lots of messages about, oh my goodness, why are we talking about this? It's such a drag. But this is an important topic for us to talk about, okay? And as we close back Black History Month and as we open, I don't know if you guys know, but next month, March, is actually Black Mental Health Month. And so this is definitely an important topic for us to talk about as we open up mental health, Black Mental Health Month. So I want to introduce you guys to our host today. She is a friend, she is an educator, she is a speaker as well, and she is a funeral director. And I racked my brain and I really tried to go back to when did I meet Minnelle? Like when did I actually meet her? And it was like years and years ago, and I couldn't remember the exact
Yeah.
date or time, but I do remember the feeling. I remember distinctly the feeling that I got when I met Minnelle. Just very real, very authentic, and very warm. Like I felt embraced, very easy to talk to. And I thought, my goodness, like it's funny how we don't always remember the details, but we remember like the emotion, right? The thing that's really important when it comes to our connections with other people. So I'm delighted. And my goodness, when we're talking about a topic like this, we definitely want to have somebody that's easy to talk to and that
Yeah.
makes us feel warm and that is very real and straightforward about how difficult it is, yes, but the details that we need to really get down packed, yes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to move out of the way and I'm going to welcome, and she'll tell you a little bit more about herself, but I'm going to welcome Minnelle Williams to talk with us today. And she'll let you guys know how she prefers to have this conversation, and then we will fall into line. Thank you so much for being here, Minnelle. It's all yours.
My pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate being here, being able to share with everybody. I'm going to go here. Did you want to talk about grief and loss? We can talk about that quickly, and then I'll get into the top. Okay. So when we start, I'm a funeral director. I will going to give you a little bit about who I am, my background, and all of that. But I just want to say when I'm speaking about grief and loss, I understand, first of all, that this is a difficult topic. So if at ever you feel like you need a break, you just step away, it's just too much, no worries, step away, come back when you're ready. The second thing to note is that grief, loss, it is amplified. I would say it's almost amplified when someone has passed because it is the greatest loss. However, it's not just and it's not limited to death, right? We can grieve many things. We can grieve experiences. We can, especially when we're talking about on the death side, we can begin to grieve. We do that anticipatory grief way before we even get into the loss, right? Watching the person that we've loved change. A lot of that can happen. So when we're talking about grief and loss, there is a definition, there is information, but also know that it is individualized Each person, we're going to feel it differently, we're going to experience it differently, and it's going to be expressed differently, especially within our community. I love to talk about like the strong Black women, what we experience as grief and how we show it to the world might not be recognized as grief. It might be recognized to the world as anger, right? So there's different ways that we would express. We want to make sure we're holding space for all of those. Okay. Hi, this is me. All right, so I'm Minnelle. You will know me by Ending Well with Minnelle. That's my platform across all socials. I use that because I think it's important that we focus on our ending. So many times we like to do head in the sand, don't talk about it, don't think about it. I would rather just live now and not think about the end. So I put it forefront in your face. We talk about death. I say the word death, and I do that on purpose so that we get a little bit more comfortable with these conversations, because it's my belief that the more comfortable we are, the easier it will be for us to actually take action. And that's the key. All right. So today, it's all about legacy and life. So thank you, Genevieve. You gave a little intro about me. I love that. Yes, I am a speaker. I'm a funeral director, just so you have an idea of who I am. I've been doing this for over 15 years now. Also crematorium operator. So a lot of people have questions about funerals, end of life, and they don't really know about the process. So I'm here as a resource. Reach out if you have any questions. We can always talk about as much or as little as you like. Reason I have all of these things to my name is because I started in this industry first as a funeral director. Well, I wanted to do autopsies first before all that even happened. And I just wanted to know how people pass. But learning that, talk about grief and loss, was too much for me. Once I understood how some of these stories and what some people have done, I said, this is not for me. I've been in funeral services before. Let me go back to that. I like dealing with people. But in dealing with people, I realized, especially in the Black community, we needed a little bit more support. So a lot of times, if we don't do any planning, if we don't talk about it at all, when somebody passes, it is shock. It is a complete shock to our system. We don't know what to do, how to process the feelings, and how to do the administrative side, because there's two sides when someone passes. Now, I got into pre-planning because I was like, I feel like we need to start doing some conversations beforehand. And then I said, okay, hold on. Yeah, you can plan your funeral, but that's one side. If you don't have your will and your other documents, that's still a mess you're leaving for your families. So kind of getting into all of this, and then the death doula, the end of life doula aspect, that is where we talk about the feels. Not just the feels, but I like to use that to talk about the feels, to say what's important to you if you are sick. If you're injured and you can't work for 3 months, what are the things that matter to you? It's one thing for us to give someone the authority, to give them our power of attorney, but if we don't give them the information that we need for them to make the decisions, it is still stress, it is still worry, it is still fear. So we're trying to have these conversations to dispel all of those, put it all on the table so that now we can go forward and actually have some concrete information to go forward with. That was weird, but you get what I'm saying. All right, a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. The importance of having these end of life conversations. How to start. That's always the first question I get asked anywhere I go. How do I even start this conversation? I don't know what to do. The 3 Ps of legacy planning, that's the practical aspect. And then coping with grief. And then finally, some support systems and the beautiful ways that we can support each other. Forgive me. I am fighting to the death. I'm fighting a cold here. And if I get caught up, I'll just have some tea. But right now we're having a real talk. So my real life moment is the struggle is real right now, but I'm here for you. All right. Number one. So the importance of these end of life conversations. It is never too early to talk about it. In Ontario, over 54% of us do not have a will. Now, let's think. When you think of, 54%, that's a family of four. Two of them do not have a will. Now, what happens when someone passes without a will? And if you've gone through this process and you know what it's like, we have maybe a briefcase. We might have we were talking before, my mama has a key, she'll tell me, okay, if I pass, everything you need to have is in this key. But now that I know more, I know that what's in that drawer is probably not sufficient. Yes, it's going to be something and it's going to give me some help, but listen, that key has been the same key since I was umpteen how many years old. Yes, it's changed over the years, but back then If you don't update your will and make any changes to it, if life has changed, if you've been divorced, if there's new children, if you just changed your mind about something and that is not documented, there's an issue. When I say it's never too early to talk about it, you don't have to tell everybody what's in your will, what you want to have, and all of those discussions. But it's important to talk about where your documents are. And if there's something shocking, I'll say this to us. If there is something shocking that your family will discover, right? Let them know. Let them know beforehand.
That's big.
Because, right? Listen, for us, when I had a family member pass, when they died, sister showed up and the sister went and took a property. We didn't even know who the sister was. We didn't know any of the details. So when something like that happens, if you had said, listen, there's a young lady who I've kind of, I've taken to, I really want to look after her and I've promised her some things. It's one thing for us to be like, ooh, even if you just said, listen, there's another young lady that is really important to me. At least we would have known, hey, somebody might show up, as opposed to getting the surprise of this person who had no legal rights, but acted quickly. And now what happens for us is if we don't talk about all these things, when someone is dealing, I don't think you understand, when someone is dealing with death, when that moment happens, life, the world, everything stops. Practicality stops, the eating, just the natural ways that we live might change, right? Because we're completely absorbed by the fact that our loved one has died. That's it, they have died. Now, if you want me to take that loss, take the moment to feel that, and then jump right over to, hello, who are you? It's very difficult for people. And the more we talk about these things, the more we share about our wishes, the easier it will be for us. The goal, especially in the Black community, the goal for us is to leave the next generation better off than we've been, and not to transfer trauma and not to transfer debt. We want to set things up so our next generation is healed, healthy, and able to move forward in excellence. So,
Yes. Sorry, I just want to, yes, co-sign
I
on that statement. Thanks.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, we do that by taking the time now to have the uncomfortable conversations, by setting things up right now so that next gen can all I want, my family, my friends, all I want them to do when I die is cry or not, whatever. Like, but grief, like feel the feels because I've taken care of the rest. That's the goal. So, for all the people that are watching this, that are here right now, what are we going to do? We're going to ensure we are not the 50% that does not have a will, and we're going to work on bringing that stat to a better side where more of us are prepared. We've looked after our arrangements. Now, how, Minnelle? You want me to have this conversation, but how do I do it? Now, I don't know if anybody here watched Insecure. I use that example all the time because it was the first time I had a aha moment. Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm gonna bring it to you. So Insecure, in one of the later episodes, Molly is sitting down with her family. Molly's a lawyer, and she's sitting down with her mother and father and her two siblings. And she brought her friend in who's a tax professional. She's like, okay, let's talk about our estate. Let's talk about my parents' situation because I want to make sure that this is okay. Now, first thing, the reason they had this family meeting and this dialogue is because their mom had a health scare. The goal is not to wait for someone to be on a ventilator to say, oh my goodness, we have to do something about this. The reality is, though, for most of us, our greatest moment when we're going to do something is right after a death, right after something has happened to a family member, because it's recent. We're just going through this process and we're like, I have to act. If that is the case, act and complete it. Because many times, in that moment, we're like, oh my goodness, I have to do something. You start the process. You get to your first sticking point. Oh, I got to go find all the paperwork. And oh, I got to call this person back. And then I'm going to figure out by the time you get to that sticking point, you don't finish. So the goal is to get that moment, use this, you hear her talk like this, and you say, oh my goodness, I have to, and keep going. If you need accountability, reach out because I will help you in that finishing strong. How do we navigate these conversations? So Molly is sitting down with her mom and dad and her friend. And I love her friend's approach because I don't know why I can never remember her name. Anyway, the friend in the show, right? She's sitting down and she's validating her parents. Because the first thing I noticed when we're talking second gen, next generation, trying to speak to our parents, the first generation Canadians who came here, there is there is a fear and there's a feeling that what they have done for us is not enough. They, when we're going through life, we see our friends are in school and they're buying their first home, and their parents are like, here's all your money to help you buy your first home. You're getting married. Oh, hey, we're going to pay for your marriage because we've been saving up for this all along. And for many in the Black community, that's not the situation. That's not the reality, right? We had to kind of fend for ourselves. We're here working now, and maybe, okay, finally, next gen, we're starting to be successful in our careers. And, the next generation is doing what our ancestors dreamed. This is the goal. Now, even though it's beautiful to see for the parents, for the seniors, our seniors right now, some of them feel amazing. They're supportive. They're looking forward to this. They love it. Others are like Molly's father. And in his situation, he said it, and my mind went, is that why people don't talk? He said, I don't feel as though what I have to give you is enough. And so I don't want to talk about it. The moment I heard that, I was like, I got it. We won't, if it's bringing shame, especially for Black men, right? If it's bringing shame, if I feel like I've been told I need to be the provider, I need to do this, I need to, and I don't feel as though what I have is enough to give to my next generation, I would rather be ignorant and not share than display that and be embarrassed. So when I say how to navigate these conversations, the first thing, if that's the case, that we can do is by honoring our parents, by honoring our elders and saying, listen, you came here. You left home, you started from scratch, you dealt with a world that I did not have to deal with and made this space for me. I honor you in that and I thank you. And now I want to make sure that the time when you're passing, when we're going through all of these things, I just want to make sure we have everything covered now. So all I need to do is grieve. Lean in onto the love, the care that they have for you, and say, the reason we need to do this is because I'm worried. I saw what my friend, ex, whoever person went through, and I want to make sure that we don't go through that same issue. The thing that happens when someone passes is that the next gen, when we talk about at the funeral home and we're looking at caskets, if you told them, listen, I just want something simple, it's fine. No problem. Simple, cool. Simple in Minnelle's mind means, you know, listen, don't tell me simple. I'm gonna go minimalist, very simple. You said simple, that's what it is. My brother does not understand simple the way I do. To him, simple means, but it's got to be pretty, pretty. You need to have this and this and that. Okay. His definition, my definition, they're both right. Nobody's wrong. But now we have to figure out how to come together and make a decision together, especially in a time when that grief is amplified. And if we haven't had clear instructions as to what that means, and that's a simple example, that's just talking about choosing a casket. Granted, it's not simple, but what is the difference when now we have to decide, okay, do we do the surgery or do we not? Do we keep them on life support or do we not? What do we do with this money that's coming in now? And no instructions have been given, right? Without this conversation, it gets difficult and it can get sticky, and we see it all the time. So the goal is passing on excellence, not stress. So when we're having these conversations, we're navigating the fear that people feel. They want to avoid, and there's many different ways that we avoid. We could be actively avoiding. I have been working on my will for 2 years. I have been intending to finish my power of attorney paperwork. I have it. It's done. It's just not signed. Actively working through it and yet still avoiding it. And part of why we do that is because it's the reality of death. It's the reality of end of life. It's the reality of that I could get sick. And I don't necessarily want to talk about that. I don't want to confront that. So I would rather avoid the conversation. No, I know. It's a lot. I like to sit in this so that we feel it. And then now we will act and get some results. My favorite quote, this is a Minnelle quote. People will people. People will always people, meaning they're going to do what they think is right. Sometimes that is good. Sometimes it will annoy us. It is what it is. People will people. But if you leave clear instructions, that will ensure you have the last word. Clear instructions. So now, my favorite example on the doula side. Death doulas, we sit with you to talk about what's important to you at the end of your life. So you give your power of attorney the information, and we're going to get to that in a second. I know I'm talking about it now, but it's okay. You give your power of attorney the information, and now you're going to tell them what that means, how you want them to act. So, okay, it's important to me that if I am ill, if I am passing, if I'm unwell, that I'm home in my space and that a whole bunch of people I don't want to see don't come in to see me. That's something you can say. I don't know why it is that at someone's passing, we feel as though we can't advocate for them or that we have to say yes to everything that comes. They can decide, listen, I don't want anyone touching me. They can decide, no, I want somebody in the bed with me when they come. They can decide, listen, I'd like to smell the real talk candles. That's my thing. Like you can smell whatever you want to smell. You can say, I want to listen to the choir. I want to have my friend had choir come. The choir came and sang. It's what is important to that person who is passing. We create that space for them. So leaving those clear instructions, tell your family how you want them to act. And then they know, hey, this is what they wanted. So when Ray, Tay, and all whoever shows up, you can say, I'm sorry, you're welcome to leave a message in the journal. You're welcome to take a picture, say you were here. I'm going to bring that in, but they've asked not to have any additional visitors. They're tired. And you can honor their wishes. And you're not the bad guy. You're not saying, hey, you can't come in. You're saying, this is what they asked for. Same thing at the funeral. Oh, this is what they asked for. When you give those instructions, it makes it a little easier. So here we go. What are all the things we have to do? These are my 3 Ps. The 3 Ps of your estate planning. Paperwork. Your paperwork, you have to complete a will. You have to complete your power of attorney documents. And in that, I like to add a third document. It's not a legal document, but it's your living will or your advanced care directives. That's what I'm talking about, where you're telling your power of attorney what's important to you if you are sick, if you are injured, if you're ill. Okay. The next one, P, is planning. That's talking about your funeral plan, getting your funeral arrangements made, talking about what you want. And please don't think, I can't do this. I don't have the money to pay for a funeral right now. You can pre-arrange a funeral and not pay for it. You can do either one. So the most important thing is getting that information down, getting your wishes down so your family knows. Same thing with your cemetery, whether you're choosing to be cremated, buried, entombed, sent home, whatever you like, okay? The last one is your personal legacy. This is my favorite. Your personal legacy is part of your legacy that will pass on, and this is your story. This is the first thing we reach for. So I like to use me as an example. When grandpa died, the first thing I did was went to go try to find my BlackBerry, because it was back then, and get that recording that I had made of him talking about, his stories, his favorite stories when he was almost drowned and all of those, because that's that personal connection. That's the time that I remember with him. And your personal story is beautiful. I find in Ontario, we don't have very much Black history of our individual Black history. It's not being really shared as widely as I would love. And so, especially, I love to reach out to our seniors, and I get to talk to seniors a lot because of my job. And I'll just sit there. Tell me about your life. Tell me about when you came to Canada. Tell me about some of your first experiences. Listen, one of my favorite talks, I always talk about this lady. She worked at a factory making Post-it notes. When's the last time you sat down and thought about how a Post-it note is made? Like, we had a whole long talk about the most random of things, but it's learning her story, her experiences, because your history, your experience in Canada is part of my legacy. It's part of who I am. I stand on your shoulders. So please tell me. I didn't know until, was it 2 years ago, about the domestic scheme? I didn't know what that was. I was like, how is this our history? And we don't know. So that's how a lot of the Caribbean people came to Canada. So yes. Okay, I know, right? Okay. So alas, those are the three P's. When it comes to actually going through the process of getting your estate in order, this is what we're going to use and ensure that we have all the paperwork, everything done. Now, once you have this done, you finished all the paperwork and everything, you put it in your file, you tell your children, you tell your family, this is where the file is. Go there and take what you need. There's a couple things that we can talk about when it comes to grieving and feeling this process. The reason a lot of us don't want to have these conversations is because the grieving can start right when we start these conversations. It's different if we're talking now while we're younger, thinking far ahead. Ideally, the moment you're going to put insurance, life insurance on your baby is before 15 days. Like, let the baby be born, put that life insurance on right away before anything is discovered, before anything can happen, so that they've already been covered right from birth. Now, if we're waiting until we're getting older, if we are so lucky in life to live a long life, then when it comes time to start making these discussions, start talking about it, it gets a little harder because we're not thinking about something further down the line. We're thinking about something a little bit closer. The same thing happens when we're talking about power of attorneys, meaning who's going to look after your finances, who's going to look after your health if you're not able to do so. Now, if I start going over these questions with you, after you've already been diagnosed with something, it's very different from when we're doing it beforehand, right? And especially for us, beyond the planning side, now when we're going through this process with someone on the power of attorney side, okay, so I know what you'd like me to do. I know what your wishes are. We get down into the stages and the waves. Now I'm going through this process with you. So let's say your loved one has dementia. Now you're watching your loved one go from the person you knew to this person who is now suffering with this disease until the person passes. I think if you look online, there's a lot of people, bless their hearts, who are sharing their loved ones' journeys on social media. And I used to watch all of them. I don't know if you guys do. I used to watch all of them and I had to stop because as the people pass, my heart is breaking because I've been following your story. Right. So if I'm watching mommy and me, like I'm watching her and her mom go through all this process, you're watching mom change and you're grieving each loss, each change. So each time she goes from being able to communicate to not being able to communicate anymore, there's a loss, there's a grief that we're feeling. Then something else happens. And now I'm watching the daughter break down just over just the weight of having to be a caregiver, just the experience watching mom change. And now I'm grieving with the daughter for the loss that she's having from wanting the mother that can't be there for her. And there's all of this grief that is happening in this process while we're caring for one of our loved ones. And we haven't even seen them pass yet. And then after the passing, a whole new wave comes. This is why I say stages and waves of grief, because I know when we were in school, they all talked about DABDA, right? The different cycles of grief. Not necessarily, well, it's not a what's it called? Not a chain, right? It's just something we can go and jump between all of them. Because yes, I might be bargaining, and then I'm going to be angry, and then I'm going to be accepting, I'll accept. And then I'll be going through the grocery store and a song will come on that will remind me, listen, when these people play songs at funerals and you play them kind of over and over again at a pivotal point of the funeral, I have a list of songs now that I cannot hear without crying because it will immediately bring me back to that moment. Stages, waves. Acceptance has already passed. But if Isn't She Love Me starts playing while I'm, God help me if that plays while I'm looking at a Kit Kat or a Guinness, it's going to bring me right to my grandmother and tears start coming. The stages and waves. And it's okay. I think when we talk, hold on, am I coming here? When we talk about support, I love this because when someone passes, many times family, friends, everybody says, how can I help? I'm here. I want to be here for you. I want to support you. I'm here for you. After the funeral, when everybody's gone home and you've gone back to your life, it's not as though the grief and the support is no longer needed. It is while you're, especially for the people, the strong ones, the strong ones who didn't cry, who didn't feel anything while, there was so much to do with childcare, this, that. When someone has passed, you got to go through all the logistics. And then down the road, now we're feeling these feelings. If you are promising to be there and to support somebody when they've just experienced a loss, be careful about what you say, because those words you say will hold very true. And if you say, I will check on you, no, I'm going to check on you. I'm going to be here for you. Be there. So speak to the capacity that you can hold. I think Monique and I, we had a whole talk, a series on this about making sure that your intentions, oh, what did she say? Your intentions and your something are aligned. Your intentions and your actions are aligned. So if you say, yes, that I'm going to pick up the kids and I'll take them away for the day, just to give you some time. Be there. Be there. If you're there, be consistent. So when we're talking about people who, let's say that someone has passed and it's now the person's birthday is coming up, the deceased birthday is coming up. If you've been there with the family, if you've been talking to them and been supporting them, throughout, you've been consistent, call. I know many times, and your family, your friend, right? I will give you suggestions, take what you want, throw away what you don't, right? But there's nothing wrong with calling to say, hey, I'm thinking about you today. Letting them know that, hey, I remember and I'm with you. Because a lot of times people feel, what it's like when you come to a service, when you come to a funeral, we feel a little uncomfortable. We don't know what to say. I'm a funeral director and I still don't know what to say. I'm still awkward, just like everybody else. So take some time to prepare what you'd want to say to the person who has lost someone, or to the person who is suffering with, or to the person whose family member is suffering with, right? It could be, I am so sorry. If you don't know what to say, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm so sorry. There is nothing wrong with saying, I'm here for you if you want to talk. There's nothing wrong with saying, I can help. But don't leave it so open to say, if you need any help, let me know. That's broad, right? Let them know, how are you willing to give support? If you need help, call me. You can call me anytime, morning, noon, or night. I'm going to keep my phone on so you can call me. You can say, listen, anytime you need some groceries, if you need a grocery delivery, let me know. I will send you groceries to help with dinner. Like whatever it is, give them some parameters of what you are willing to support with, to pick up the kids or whatever it might be. That is a good way, a wonderful way to support somebody who's going through.
You
The
know,
other part that we talk about is respite care.
it's Genevieve. Sorry, can
Yeah.
I just jump in with regards to that piece, like the
Mm.
support piece that we're talking about, right? We're looking at something that's already difficult, something that's already challenging, it's already uncomfortable, and that many of us do a really great job of trying to avoid talking about. And
Mhm.
so when we're confronted with an opportunity, because it is an opportunity to provide some kind of like support, or we can sort of reach out and do that thing. Sometimes we just don't know, right? We don't know, like, how, what, all the things, and so we don't. We don't know, and
Yeah.
so we just don't. And sometimes we have stories that we tell ourselves, like, oh, if I call this person on the anniversary of the death of their loved one, I'm going to bring up all the trauma and they're just going to remember it all over again, and they're just going to be dysfunctional in their lives, and it's going to be all my fault, and we've got all the guilt and the blame and all that stuff, right? when
Yeah.
when when in reality, we can think about it like in terms of ourselves. And when we are low down, in a position where we're missing our loved ones, or what have you, and what we would want the most,
Yeah.
right? But I know that in the past, especially for me, and I'm better now. But in the past, like it's really been like I don't know what to say or do. I don't like funerals. I don't like death. I don't want to even talk about it. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just not. I'm just gonna not. You know.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's anyway. I just wanted to sort of throw that in because maybe some of us feel that way, you know.
It's as though we think that they're not thinking about the loved one,
Yeah, or
but
they're trying not to.
yeah, I'm like, in reality, they're always there. I love Brene Brown she has a quote. She explains grief like a broken shoulder,
Oh yeah,
where
love
your
Brene.
shoulder's broken, right? It heals, but every time you reach, every time you move, you feel it, right? It's healed, but you feel that. So they're always there. And I'm like, that's a good thing. The part of what I like, my favorite quote from um Aliwa Arthur is, you want to live a life worth dying from. You want to live a life worth
Ah,
dying from. And I love that because I'm like, I want to be somebody's bump on the shoulder, when I'm gone. I want you to remember me like that. Not that you're going to be held up on me and crying about me forever, but let that be the reminder that my life had impact and I've impacted others. Right. So, yeah. And I'm like, I love that because I'm like, so many times we don't want to talk. We're afraid of sharing, and we might not ourselves be comfortable to share, what we're feeling. I know for myself, my friends know, I'm horrible with a capital horrible at talking about my deep feelings. But over the years, we have found ways to make it safe for someone like me and for others to talk. Right. So you create a group, you create your safe space where you feel that you can be open, where you can sit with someone, because sometimes you don't need to even say anything. Just be there and sit in the silence or in the uncomfortableness of the situation together, because there's nothing you can say to make it better. But just by being there, your presence shows, I'm here, I've got you, I love you. Offering a gift, maybe a journal. Here is a journal. Just fill it up with your thoughts. All these different things that we can do, teaching somebody about breathing, about being present. All of those things are helpful, right? So here's to the groups, here's to the online groups, here's to the virtual groups, here's to the YouTube where I can watch it. Nobody knows that I'm watching it, but I'm a part of it and you're supporting me. Just like some of these Facebook groups with those anonymous groups. What?
mm,
Life giving. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna um go to the chat here, and
Mhm.
I really hope this is okay because she posted it for everyone. Um, but I as we're talking about support, I
Yes.
see the responses showing up in the chat, and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Um, and Leslie just shared that her dad passed away on Friday. So this conversation is
Sorry.
very real right now, and I see the support in the messages and the responses in the chat, condolences and prayer and wishes of peace and comfort for Leslie. And so, we are here with you and offering you our condolences and our regards in support as you walk through this very real right now
Mhm.
process. Woo,
I am so
this is
sorry.
life. This
It
is
is.
life right here, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
life that we get to do together with one another. Guys, this is what this is all about.
The real. Right? And being in the ick
Yeah.
and being comfortable in the ick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any support. By that meaning, you've got some information. You've got a list of things. As someone passes, there's a list of things that we need to do, right? There's some items that need to happen quickly, and there's some things that can take some more time. So it's a matter of balancing. And oh my goodness, when we talk about support, reach and accept that support when people are offering. What can I do? Haha, here's a come to the house. Here's all the paperwork. Go through there, look for anything that looks important. Because if the what was left is the briefcase, I call it the briefcase, when everyone has all of their paperwork together in that one thing, get some help going through that. Because the last thing you want to do is throw out something that you don't realize is important that you might need later on. Because a lot of those, like, where's the deed to the house? A lot of these items, we don't know where they're found. So nowadays, when we're creating our wills, when we're creating our documents, you're also going to be creating an itemized list of all of your essential documents and where they're located. Same thing for those of us, we're on Zoom right now. You have Gmail accounts, you have Facebook accounts, you have Apple phones, you have things like that. There are now legacy options built into them where you can decide, I want this person to look after my arrangements, or not arrangements, to look after my digital asset for me after I've passed. I will give them access to it. It's important to fill those out, because if you've ever tried to close a Facebook group, you know you cannot. Once you have created something, Facebook says, thank you very much, I own it. So it's important that you decide who you want to speak for you, lest the platforms decide how to memorialize your loved one, because that's what happens if nothing else been set up, right? So there's a lot of new things that we need to start paying attention to and addressing to ensure that we are looked after and that our loved ones are also looked after. Now, hold on. Last little bit here. This is my favorite. I talked to you guys already about everyone having a story to tell and the importance of sharing our stories. I love this photo because it's a matter of generational sharing. So there are different ways that you can tell your story. This is something that I learned about when I was taking my death doula course. And there's a lot of time when somebody is ill, when someone is passing, there can be a lot of downtime where we don't really, we're just sitting and existing together, right? So you might go visit your loved one in the home, in the hospital, they might be at home, and we're just kind of sitting together. Maybe we're watching a movie, maybe we're reading a book. Maybe this is a great way to involve the next generations, the kids and them. So sharing your story, there's a few ways. I've got the legacy story. That's a way where now we're going to sit down together. You're going to ask your loved one questions. They will answer the questions online. You can either type it or talk it, whatever the point is. You create 10 answers, which will then be turned into a personalized magazine, right? That's one. That's creating your personal, we use AI and all that fun stuff to make it. Maybe you want to do that. No problem. Go to the legacy story. Maybe you want to record. See, we're on video right now. Maybe you want to do a little video, question ask, interview. Maybe you just want to record those moments and enjoy some B-roll or whatever it's called. So cool. And enjoy those just real life moments watching that time with your loved one. Maybe remember in school, we did those timelines. A timeline, you're going to say birth, what happened? Next thing that happened in your life. Okay, I got married. I feel like something would have happened between then, but regardless, you got married. Okay, mark that. Okay, what happened here? Got my first job. Oh, what was it? Okay, great. We keep going. And you go through and you create a timeline of the person's life. That's a beautiful thing to do with their grandkids. You can either do it on construction paper or you do it digitally, but it's a great way to share story, to involve people in these moments. And it helps to give that person who is passing, it gives them something to look forward to. It gives them something to enjoy as they are sharing their story with people who love them. And I can tell you, you can never do this enough. It's not as though, okay, we completed the story one time, we're done. How many years have we lived? And this isn't something, no, when I say this, I always I do my talks and I talk about passing as though it is going to be far away. But the reality is, I'm a funeral director, and I know that today, when we say today is a present, today's the present, it is a gift because I'm here today. I know that I could be gone tomorrow. And it is important that the things I'm talking about now aren't just things we're thinking about for down the road, but they're also things we're thinking about for now. Start now, get it done now, tell your story even now. Because up to now, look at the lives we've lived, the things we've seen, we've seen the advent of the internet, like document it. Those are tangible, beautiful shares that we can give to our family, to the community at large, because when we're here together, look how many people are here. There's so many stories here right now that I'm sure we could all sit down and be like, yo, tell me your first time tell me about the first time you fell in love. And we could sit down here and be here together sharing this story for a whole other hour, because our stories are important. And the best part is that they're ours. So everybody has a story to tell. Please tell yours. Here we go. Coming to the end. I say this, ending well means you've lived well. That is the goal. We go through, we talk about it, we feel the feels, we experience life, and we stay as present as we can until we're no longer able. And at that point in time, our legacy is what we've done and how we've left things for our family. So I thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak and to share. Do you have, I know it's weird, if you have questions, if you want to talk about things, we can absolutely do that because this is my happy space talking about end of life.
Oh my goodness, Minnelle. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Wow, so amazing. So many pieces. I like my brain is so full right now. Thank you so much. I love the legacy story. Oh my
Uh,
goodness. Yeah,
thank
using our technology, right? The
Mhm.
advent of the interwebs
Yes, yes,
to
absolutely.
to our
Absolutely.
advantage, right? As we tell our stories, right? And I've seen so many amazing things happen with AI, with images and so on. But yeah, using that to tell our stories and to leave a powerful legacy for our loved ones who are who really send us off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the now aspect of things, right? This is a now conversation, right? Because
Mhm.
we don't. Tomorrow is not promised. Right now is. And we could walk out there and whatever could happen. So really the sense of urgency to develop this plan for ourselves. I'm really hearing that come through. So I want to thank you for admonishing us in that way, with compassion, but with urgency. Because it is a now conversation that we do need to have. Um, okay, so what I want to do is quickly go through these slides and then I'll open it up for the last 10 minutes or so. We can have some conversation, talk to Minnelle if she has some, if you guys have some questions for her and she has some answers for us, we'll do that. But as per normal, each week I challenge you guys to act, right? So you guys are going to act. You guys are going to apply something you've learned. You're going to change something about yourselves, and you're going to teach something that you've learned to somebody else. And so, would you, as per normal, throw in the chat one thing that you are going to take? I took away like 8 things just now, but throw one thing in the chat that you want to take away with you from our conversation today, something that you're going to act on, you're going to apply, you're going to change, you're going to teach, maybe that even you're just going to reflect on. Um, and I know some of you will probably take the support aspect because I see you guys supporting in the chat. Those of us who expressed that we've lost someone recently. Thank you so much, Leslie, for also being open enough, transparent enough to share that because it's hard, and then
Absolutely.
also to receive care and support from us, whether we're friends or strangers. Leslie is a dear friend of mine, and so from friends or from strangers, from near or from far, just being open to receive that support. Les, thank you so much for that. So go ahead and act, you guys. The recording will be up on the Mentiverse app. That's where we throw out all the recordings. So you guys can download that from the Google, I think it's Google Play, or from the Apple Store. Minal, if you can go to the next couple of slides, I think it's the third one there. Um,
Absolutely. Writing my act.
oh, writing your act. Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
And then okay, you can go to the next one there. Okay, yes. So next week, we are going to have a conversation, a transformational conversation about Black mental health. So, as we know, we're closing out Black History Month. We are introducing or welcoming Black Mental Health Month. So, I don't know if you guys know that, but that's what March is. And so, as a therapist, I am trained in a lot of interventions and treatment modalities that cater to us as individuals who are dealing with mental emotional health issues, who want to improve our mental and emotional health. But a lot of those interventions are based on, they're very Eurocentric, let's say. So they're really based on the dominant culture experience, the white experience, and what they deem harmful or what they deem pathological, what they deem normal, doesn't always translate to other cultures and other people groups. And
Mhm.
so we, as a people, we do experience our mental and emotional health differently in a lot of ways. So we endure different things, we internalize different things, we are given different messaging. And so we want to talk about how Black mental health specifically is experienced and then expressed in our society, especially at the onset of Black Mental Health Month. And yes,
Mhm.
there is a difference, you guys. There is a difference between
Yeah.
how marginalized groups experience their mental and emotional health from other groups who have a voice or may have been able to speak. So we want to talk about that and how, especially, it impacts our capacity to do relationships well, to show up in our relationships well, to establish relationships well, to sustain relationships well, right? It
Mhm.
all comes together. It's all interconnected, you guys. So we're gonna have a good conversation about that next week. So join us, and then I do have a surprise for us at the end of next week's session. I do have a cool little reveal for us. So you guys want to be here. And yeah, this is a topic that really hits home for me. I mean, we stay Black all day, you guys, right? And so, in Black skin all day. Yeah, we live, think, and exist on a different level a lot of the time. So this is this is one that's really dear to my heart. So you guys want to join in next week? Share, share, share. I'll post it. You guys share it. Invite who you think might want to attend or might benefit from attending. And yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here doing the real talks and having the real transformational conversations. And before I give it back over to Minnelle, and if you guys have questions, I'll check the chat in a second. But I just want to say thank you. I know I've said it before, but thank you, Minnelle, for being like real. I heard your accent come through a few times there, and no, that's it. Sometimes we try to do this like professional thing. We've got the platform, and I get it, and there's part of that resonates with me as well because we do need to set the bar quite high and step out in excellence. But we need to be real too, right? Because we're real people out here, and so I just want to appreciate you for being real and for just staying real. You are the same person that I met. You walk in this, this like, hey, this is who I am, authentic, real, living out loud, just being yourself. And I am just so inspired by that. And yeah, and thank you. Just
Yeah.
thank
Thank
you
you.
for that. And for being here and for sharing yourself and your passion
Mm.
with us on the platform today. And there's so many thank yous in the chat. I saw thank you so much, thank you so much. So people are taking things away from
Good.
our conversation today.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I'll check real quickly to see if anybody has if anybody has any questions, you guys are free to open to raise your hands or to turn on your mics and to speak. But yeah, I took away a lot. Definitely going to apply the legacy recording. Yes, I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. All the
Yes.
thank yous in there. But yeah, if you guys want to ask any questions, you definitely can. And I think the last slide is Manel's information, so we want to put that up there as well.
Mhm. That's here. A lot of people, um, I will encourage you to call me sooner because I do this and people have now, they've associated me with a person they can speak to when you get that call, which is amazing, right? I'm here for that. I'm here to help you through. But if you're waiting until you've got that call of a diagnosis of I only have a month or anything like that to call, there's not very much that we can do. There's still things, still call, regardless, call. But there's more that can be done easier if we have the conversation sooner. So whether it's a matter of talking to someone to say, hey, okay, help me through this. I don't know what I don't know, right? So what is it that I need in order to set myself up? I have a business. I don't know if my business is set up to continue after I pass or to continue if I get sick. What do I do? Right? We have to talk about those things, but it's also just a matter of documenting, knowing what's out there, and then acting on it. So use this. I ask, you talk about the ask. My ask to you is to take this. We heard about it. You just sat through almost an hour of me talking about death and end of life and all of this planning and that. And take one thing and go and talk to someone about it. Say, I was just at this webinar and oh my goodness, I learned that I really need to do this. Do you have a will done? Have you talked to your family about it? I know you're only 16. I'm just kidding. Maybe not 16, but either way, hey, like once you have something, once you have something in your name, be it a phone, a car, anything, you're going to want to document what you want, or at least talk to your family about what you want, because we don't know And the easier it is the more we share, the more we know. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for entering into this space. I think you can tell this is very much a space that I enjoy. I love to talk about this. I love to share about the importance of planning ahead. So thank you for being here with me. I thought someone was trying to say something. Sorry. Stop talking.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I had a question. What was the question? Where can we find the recording again? Okay, yes, I will the Mentiverse app.
Oh,
And then you can also throw your email in the chat if you want the recording sooner rather than later. I can send you the recording probably in the next half an hour if you want it today. Um, and otherwise, you can download the Mentiverse app on the Google Store and whatnot, and get the rest of the recordings there. First and second season of the relationship series is available on the Mentiverse app right now. Um, and yes, okay. So I don't know if I see any questions. You guys are free to raise your hands. We got another like 3-4 minutes. Or of course, please take Minnelle's information so that you guys can connect with her. And I just want to point out that we just spent, and I do like to respect your time. You guys know I love to honor your time. And so we stopped the recording at exactly an hour. Um, but if you guys do have questions, you can throw them out there and we'll make sure that Minnelle gets them and then she can answer them. But I do want to point out that we just spent almost an hour talking about this really difficult topic. Um, and it was okay. We all survived. Like we're all
yeah.
still here, right? And I think part of what that um, what that means, well, to me anyway, is that we can we can lean in and really take the steps that are necessary um, to do end of life well. I love that, by the way, and ending well with Minnelle. Like there's a way to live well and there's a way to end well. I think
Mm,
there's a this was a few years ago. I heard this thing called finish strong, right? Finish
yes.
strong. It had to do with the end of the year and go out with a bang kind of thing. But this is a way, and for death, we have to do the work required while we are alive in order for us to finish strong, right?
Mm,
And so take the steps, guys. Like let's do the things, and sometimes we can do it in some very non-threatening non-threatening ways.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, please, if you need to call me, call me. If you need to call me now, call me now. If you need to call me because you missed the slide or whatever, please just do that and share. Let people know what is going on, what needs to be done, what you're gonna do, what they can do to end well. Okay. Thank you
Amen.
guys so much for joining the relationship series to discuss grief and loss today. And you guys are free to go. Please join us next week as we discuss. What are we discussing next week?
Black mental health.
Black mental health. Thank you so much. We'll be talking about Black mental health. Uh, Black mental health next week, Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So you guys want to join in on the Zoom for Black mental health next week. Thank you again, Minnelle, and see you guys next week. Have an awesome weekend, you guys.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care.